Flag Desecration Amendment. This proposed amendment seeks to prohibit the desecration of the American flag, typically by burning or defacing it, as a form of protest or expression. It reflects debates about patriotism, free speech, and the symbolic significance of the flag in American culture. Supporters argue for the protection of national symbols, while opponents cite concerns about First Amendment rights. Human Life Amendment. The Human Life Amendment seeks to establish constitutional protections for the rights of unborn fetuses, typically with the aim of prohibiting abortion in the United States. It reflects deeply held beliefs about the beginning of human life, reproductive rights, and the role of government in regulating abortion. Supporters frame it as a moral imperative, while opponents argue for reproductive autonomy and women's rights. Income Tax Abolition Amendment. This proposed amendment aims to abolish the federal income tax system in the United States, which is the primary source of revenue for the federal government. Advocates argue that eliminating income taxes would promote economic freedom, incentivize productivity, and simplify the tax code. However, critics raise concerns about the potential loss of government revenue and the impact on essential public services. The Line Item Veto Amendment. The Line Item Veto Amendment seeks to grant the president the authority to veto specific provisions of spending bills without vetoing the entire bill. It aims to empower the executive branch to eliminate wasteful or unnecessary spending, enhance fiscal discipline, and reduce government waste. However, questions about the constitutionality and separation of powers have surrounded proposals for a line item veto. Presidential election amendments. These amendments, likely referring to various proposals around that time, aim to reform or modify the presidential election process in the United States. Such reforms may have included changes to the electoral college system, campaign finance regulations, or the nomination process within political parties. Religious Freedom Restoration Amendment. The Religious Freedom Restoration Amendment aims to strengthen protections for religious liberty in the United States. It seeks to limit government actions that burden the free exercise of religion, ensuring that individuals and religious organizations can practice their faith without undue interference from the government. Supporters argue for the preservation of religious freedom as a fundamental constitutional right, while critics raise concerns about potential conflicts with other rights and government interests. School Prayer Amendment. The School Prayer Amendment proposes to amend the Constitution to allow for organized prayer or other religious activities in public schools. It reflects debates over the role of religion in public education and the separation of church and state. Supporters argue for the promotion of religious values and freedom of expression, while opponents cite concerns about religious coercion and maintaining secular public institutions. Balanced Budget Amendment. This proposed amendment aims to require the federal government to balance its budget each year, ensuring that expenditures do not exceed revenues. It seeks to promote fiscal responsibility and prevent excessive government debt by mandating fiscal discipline. Birthright Citizenship Abolition Amendment. This amendment proposes to end birthright citizenship, which grants citizenship to individuals born within the territory of the United States, regardless of the citizenship status of their parents. It's a contentious issue often tied to debates over immigration policy and national identity. Blaine Amendment. The Blaine Amendment refers to various proposed amendments aimed at prohibiting the use of public funds to support religious schools, institutions, or activities. These amendments seek to maintain the separation of church and state and prevent government endorsement or support of specific religious practices. Bricker Amendment. The Bricker Amendment seeks to limit the treaty-making power of the president by requiring treaties to be ratified by a two-thirds majority in the Senate and prohibiting treaties from overriding the Constitution. It aims to safeguard national sovereignty and prevent the erosion of constitutional rights through international agreements. Death Penalty Abolition Amendment. This proposed amendment seeks to abolish the death penalty at the federal level, reflecting ongoing debates about the ethics, efficacy, and fairness of capital punishment. Supporters argue for its moral imperative, while opponents cite concerns about wrongful convictions and systemic inequalities in its application. Electoral College Abolition Amendment. This proposed amendment aims to abolish the electoral college system for electing the President and Vice President of the United States. Instead, it advocates for a direct popular vote system, where the candidate who receives the most votes nationwide wins the presidency. Supporters argue that this change would ensure a more democratic and representative election process. English Official Language Amendment. This proposed amendment seeks to designate English as the official language of the United States at the federal level. Advocates argue that such a designation would promote national unity, streamline government operations, and encourage linguistic assimilation. However, critics raise concerns about potential discrimination against non-English speakers and the preservation of linguistic diversity. The equal opportunity to govern. This amendment, also known as the Hatch Amendment or Arnold Amendment, proposed that would remove the Constitution's requirement that the president and vice president must be natural-born citizens. Aims to ensure that all American citizens have an equal opportunity to run for and hold public office, regardless of their background, wealth, or social status. Federal Marriage Amendment. The Federal Marriage Amendment proposes to define marriage as a union between one man and one woman at the federal level, effectively prohibiting same-sex marriage nationwide. It reflects debates over the traditional definition of marriage, the rights of LGBTQ+ individuals, and the role of the federal government in regulating marriage. Victims' Rights Amendment. This proposed amendment seeks to enshrine specific rights for victims of crime in the Constitution, such as the right to be informed, the right to be heard, and the right to restitution. It aims to ensure that victims are treated with dignity, respect, and fairness within the criminal justice system, alongside the rights of the accused. Supporters advocate for empowering and protecting victims, while critics raise concerns about potential conflicts with defendants' rights and due process. Equal Rights Amendment. The Equal Rights Amendment, ERA, seeks to guarantee equal rights under the law regardless of sex, prohibiting discrimination on the basis of gender. It aims to address gender disparities in areas such as employment, pay, and legal rights. Titles of Nobility Amendment. Titles of Nobility. Amendment seeks to prevent individuals from holding titles of nobility or accepting honors from foreign governments without congressional approval. It reflects the principles of republicanism and equality enshrined in the Constitution, aiming to ensure that no special privileges or allegiances undermine the sovereignty of the United States. D.C. Voting Rights Amendment. District of Columbia Voting Rights Amendment aims to grant the residents of Washington, D.C. full voting representation in Congress, including representation in the Senate and the House of Representatives. It seeks to address the issue of taxation without representation for D.C. residents and to ensure their equal participation in the democratic process. Corwin Amendment. The Corwin Amendment, also called the Slavery Amendment, proposed before the American Civil War, aimed to protect the institution of slavery in states where it already existed. It sought to prevent future amendments to the Constitution from interfering with the practice of slavery. While it was never ratified, it underscores the deep divisions over slavery that ultimately led to the Civil War. Vote of No Confidence Amendment. The Vote of No Confidence Amendment proposes to introduce a mechanism for the removal of the president or other high-ranking officials through a vote of no confidence by the legislative body. It aims to provide a constitutional means for holding elected officials accountable and addressing issues of leadership incompetence or misconduct. If you enjoy video, then hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Thank you for watching.